What is up, everyone? My name is Jack Saffel, back again with another WrestleMania review, and today I'm here with my WrestleMania XII review. This took place at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California, and overall I thought this was a very damn good WrestleMania, especially the main event and some of the other matches that took place on this show. It was actually a pretty damn good show. So we kick off the night not with America the Beautiful. We didn't get an America the Beautiful performance at this show, but Vince McMahon and Jerry Lawler were on commentary for tonight's show. So we open up with a six-man tag: Vader, Owen, Hart, and the British Bulldog taking on Yokozuna, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Ahmed Johnson, who was the new guy that Vince was trying to push at the time. Basically, the storyline for this was Yokozuna got tired of Jim Cornette's crap after a while, and he left Camp Cornette and went on his own. So yeah, he's babyface now. So it was cool to see Yokozuna and Vader, two great big men, square off for a bit, and Jake hit the DDT on Owen, but the ref was distracted as Cornette tried to attack, but he almost gets hit with a DDT until Vader shows up and hits the Vader bomb to get the win in a pretty decent six-man tag. I mean, it wasn't spectacular or anything, but you know what, it was fine. It was a fine way to open up the show. And after that, we get to one of the funnest matches in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. The Hollywood Backlot Brawl. Roddy Piper versus Goldust. So Piper was interim WWF president at the time. He was filling in for Gorilla Monsoon after he got attacked by Vader. So he was filling in while Monsoon was still recovering from that. And Goldust, when Goldust was first brought into the WWF in like 95 or 96, he was a very strange character. He was very taboo for wrestling at the time. Many people have stated that like this was the first seed planted for the Attitude Era, which was where things started to get a little edgy. Like Goldust was one of the first guys that started showing off WWF's edginess a little bit. So, but obviously this is way before the Attitude Era, at least a year or two before it really took off. So he was pretty cutting edge for its time. You know, the way he would like feel up his opponents to get under their skin, and you know, the mind games he would play. He was a very like sexualized type of a character, and he basically had a weird obsession with Roddy Piper, like a sexual obsession. It was fucking weird. And he got in his face at one point and slapped him until Piper slapped back and made this match. So Piper's waiting for Goldust in the backlot, and with a baseball bat in hand, as Goldust arrives in a gold Cadillac, and Piper goes after him with the bat. He smashes one of the windows of the Cadillac with it, and then Piper hits him with a trash can and then throws him into some stuff around the backlot, and he even slams him on the hood of the car. But then Goldust low blows Piper and hits him with his car and drives off, and Piper gets in a white Ford and they get on the chase. So throughout the night, before they would finish their match, they would cut back to these helicopter shots of them chasing each other, and it was basically a complete rip-off of the O.J. Simpson car chase. Like, almost like what happened in real life. It was just... And I love how Vince was playing up as well. This is definitely some very familiar footage we're seeing. I'm like, yeah, well, fucking no shit, mate. It's very similar to what actually transpired in real life involving O.J. Simpson. But while that stuff's taking place, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin making his WrestleMania debut with Ted DiBiase in his corner. This was around... He wasn't the ringmaster anymore. He was becoming Stone Cold, but this was like a few months before the Austin 316 promo, so he hasn't fully become the Stone Cold we all know and love. And he took on Savio Vega. So the build-up for this was the two were paired in like a tag team championship tournament, but Austin refused to help Savio Vega and cost them the match, basically. And the two worked a very solid match. Austin was working very technically, even though he did use some dirty tactics throughout. He even smacked Savio Vega in the back of the head with the $1 Million Championship, and he locked in the $1 Million Dream to win by submission. So no complaints for this match here. Obviously, yeah, like I was mentioning before, Stone Cold Steve Austin would go on to do major things in the future. So another man who would go on to do major things in the future, Hunter Hearst Helmsley with Sable in his corner. Yes, Sable, I believe this was her debut in the WWF. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, Hearst Helmsley, aka Triple H, before he became the Gamer, he was the Connecticut Blue Blood, a very classy individual who would look down at the peasants for just being like rude and stuff like that, which is funny considering the character he would be 2 years later. So he took on the Ultimate Warrior, and this was basically a squash match involving Triple H. So Hunter basically gets squashed in under 2 minutes, pretty much, which is so funny considering how Triple H would go on to be one of the biggest stars in the company. But yeah, it was just basically running shoulder tackles, gorilla press, splash to the back for Warrior to get the win. So this was probably the worst match on the show, but then again, it wasn't really that much of a match. It was more of just a squash for the Ultimate Warrior. And as for Triple H, well, his career would not go that far as the curtain call incident took place, where him and Shawn Michaels hugged it out with Diesel and Razor Ramon, who would leave WWF to go to WCW later on in that year, 1996. This was when the Monday Night Wars were like really starting to heat up between the two. I think the previous year, Alundra Blaze dumped the WWF Women's Championship in the trash on Nitro. So yeah, the battle lines were drawn, let's just say that. So after that match, we had Todd Pettengill interviewing the newly signed Wild Man, Mark Merrow, who used to be known as Johnny B. Bad in WCW. So he's jumped ship over to WWF, and he talks about how excited he is to be here, basically. And so Hearst Helmsley walks past, and they start brawling for some reason. And Sable isn't exactly thrilled with Triple H beating up Mark Merrow. So I guess this is where it started with the whole love thing between Sable and Mark Merrow on screen. So, and obviously Sable being with Mark Merrow turned her into a megastar, basically. So after that was Diesel versus The Undertaker with Paul Bear. Diesel's the shit, I'm telling you. So if anyone caught that, if anyone has the original pay-per-view on that, whether it be on VHS or whatever, he says that. But I went to the network version and they cut it out. Like, that's depressing, man. That sucks. You're no fun, WWE Network. So, I was trying to enjoy the opening of this match, but then Kevin Dunn's big fucking teeth presses a button somewhere and like the video cuts out for a bit, because I thought it was an error on my network, but I went to rewind it and no, it was an error on the show. So yeah, thank you, Kevin Dunn, you dickhead. But Diesel looked pretty strong early on in this match. He was acting very cocky towards the fans since he had turned heel the previous year. I think he like attacked Shawn Michaels or something like that, because yeah, fans were just not into him, I guess. Diesel locks in a bear hug, but Undertaker gets out of it. He hits the jackknife powerbomb at one point, gloats to the crowd as Undertaker goes to grab him by the neck when Kevin Nash goes over, and while he's still on the ground, he gets back up, and then Diesel turns it into some sort of a slam. Taker hits the choke slam, then a tombstone to put away Diesel for good in a really good match, actually. I really enjoyed it. For two not overly big men, but for two like pretty big men, they worked a very good match with each other, especially what they did. Like, I love Diesel's cockiness. I feel like that fits his character so much better than as a babyface, personally. And as for The Undertaker, people don't want to boo The Undertaker because, you know, he was so popular at this time. He was like one of the biggest stars in the company. So yeah, no complaints about this match. And after a few helicopter shots of, yeah, the Piper and Goldust chase down, they finally make it to the arena, and they both chase each other into the ring, and both men brawl for a bit as Piper tries to tape up his bloody right hand. I think he, like, cut his hand when he went for the baseball bat. I don't know. So Goldust fills up Piper's ass, and then rips his shirt off to choke him with it. Goldust kisses Piper, which fires him off. And he aims for Goldust's golden globes, basically, so his nuts. And he kisses him and rips off his wrestling suit to reveal him wearing lingerie. Wow, this sounds really gay by me talking about it. But Piper wins. I guess they didn't really explain how you won a Hollywood Backlot Brawl. There's just one guy just give up after a while and just go, nah, you can fucking win, mate. So yeah, Piper wins the match. Very entertaining. It was a very entertaining Backlot Brawl. Very fun to watch overall. Obviously, this was like kind of the start of WWF kind of trying out hardcore wrestling at the time, because they weren't really known for hardcore stuff. They hadn't really done anything to the extent of this before. This was around the time where ECW was starting to get a lot of buzz in the wrestling scene and was getting very, very popular with their hardcore wrestling, blood and guts type of promotion, and WWE thought they could just capitalize on it, and not capitalize on it, but, you know, put their own spin on it. But then we get, oh my lord, the main event. 60-minute Iron Man match for the WWF Championship. Bret the Hitman Hart versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, with Jose Lothario, his trainer, in his corner. Now, I don't feel like I need to do much explaining on the feud between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. A lot of real life things in this feud. Obviously, 97 was when things started to get really personal, but I feel like there was still a level of respect between the two during this time. I think they may not have liked each other. I have a feeling Bret and Shawn just never got along, just in general. They have two different philosophies and mindsets. Bret is a more serious, get in the ring and get your business done type of wrestler. As of Shawn Michaels, he's a very flashy, very cocky kind of a guy who's not afraid to showboat to the fans, basically. So when you have two guys who are basically completely different to each other, you have some chemistry there. And Shawn Michaels comes down on a zip line in one of the best WrestleMania entrances of all time. I never get tired of watching Shawn Michaels come down into the crowd on the zip line. That stuff right there is what WrestleMania is all about to me. And so both men start off in a very slow, technical manner. Basically, a lot of holds in the opening moments, but eventually things start to pick up bit by bit. And so Bret gets Irish whipped into the ring bell area, in the timekeepers area, and he's like sitting on one of the chairs when he gets Irish whipped. Shawn goes for the super kick. He moves out of the way and he kicks poor Tony Chimmel in the face. He sells that shit like a champ. Bret hits a pile driver in the ring at one point, but then Shawn kicks out, and then Michael gets thrown out and lands on Jose Lothario as people boo, despite Bret not really doing that in a heelish way. Don't worry, we get heelish Bret in the next WrestleMania for sure. Hart went for the middle rope dive to Michaels on the outside, and then during the end, both men were desperately trying to get some decisions during the final minutes of the match. Michaels hits his flying elbow and a gut-wrench suplex. There was a beautiful moonsault to Bret Hart to roll him up, but kicks out. And he even hits a head scissors on him, but Hart still kicks out. And so he catches Michaels from the top rope into a sharpshooter during the final minute of the match. The time is ticking down, and Michaels is trying to, push through for all odds, because, he was a babyface at this time. Both men were babyfaces during this match until the time runs out, so he doesn't tap out. It goes to a draw. Bret Hart basically grabs his WWF title and just calls it a day. However, Gorilla Monsoon, the WWF president at the time, basically tells the referee for this match to restart under sudden death rules. And although Bret did try to wear down Shawn during the sudden death moments of the match, HBK hits a super kick on Bret out of nowhere, and then he hits it again, seals the deal, and Shawn Michaels becomes WWF champion. The boyhood dream has come true for him. As a huge Shawn Michaels fan myself, with him being one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, moments like Shawn holding the championship and basically sort of in tears just staring at the WWF title moments like that is why I love professional wrestling. Because seeing a guy who had worked his ass off his entire life, and yeah, don't get me wrong, Shawn was an asshole during this time period. Like, even in this match, when he just won, he told basically Earl Hebner to tell Bret to get the fuck out of his ring. Like, in those words, I think. So yeah, Michaels was a bit of an egomaniac during this time period, and it would get worse in the WrestleMania 14, but during this time period, man, Shawn was at the top of his game. Like, there was no other wrestler that could touch his ability inside the ring other than Bret Hart, which was what made the match so amazing. This is one of the best matches in WrestleMania history, in my opinion. These two men put on the match that everyone was expecting. I remember hearing a story of Pat Patterson crying after the match because they got the match so right in every way possible. I mean, you'd have to think of the pressure both men were going into in a match of that magnitude. You know, Bret and Shawn having to wrestle for 60 minutes, a full hour of non-stop action, basically. And on top of that, having to do sudden death rules and to put on a convincing performance. I mean, that just shows you right there, they are two of the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, to steal a quote from Bret. So, yeah, I can't praise this match any high enough. If you haven't seen this match, what are you doing with your life? Watch it, please. And that's how we ended WrestleMania 12. Match of the night. I just told you what my match of the night was. Bret versus Shawn. Why? I just explained why. So, how I'm going to rate this WrestleMania? You know what? I really like this WrestleMania. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a great show. I thought this was a really good show. The main event was one of the best in history. Diesel versus The Undertaker was very good. All these matches were really good. Like, the majority of these matches were good in their own way, or solid. Like, the worst match on this show was a squash match in 2 minutes, and even that was entertaining. This is one of the best Manias, in my opinion. This is one of my favorite Manias now. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen WrestleMania 12, please go and watch it. It's a great show. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this review. I hope you have enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment down below your thoughts on WrestleMania 12 if you have seen it, and if you want to see more from me, hit that subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. Twitter and Instagram's at JackermanLaw31 if you want to check me out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm out in 3, 2, 1.